Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With your WWE WrestleMania 42 second look and WWE Raw after WrestleMania analysis. That's right, Getting Over is back once again, and we are here to not only break down everything that happened in WWE on Monday night, the Raw after WrestleMania. We have some straggler content from the SmackDown before WrestleMania, an entire second look at WWE WrestleMania 42, and a special segment at the end of the show, all prepared for your ear holes. As we get into this episode of the program, allow the Silver King off the top to remind you that the Getting Over Wrestling podcast
is all about Defy.
So please, folks,
stop being marks for yourselves and go back to being a mark for me.
Go back to being marks for the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, vintage Chris Vanini, who will join us momentarily, and Getting Over as a whole. Head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show, and you can let your voice be heard on YouTube. When you subscribe there, you can listen to the show, and you can watch full-length video interviews no matter where you want to follow us on social media. You can do it at Getting Overcast. Now, I mentioned Vintage will join the show momentarily, and that is most certainly true. He will be here for the vast majority of the episode. However, he is currently on assignment at a special college football meeting in Dallas, Texas, and therefore he will be popping in and out during this program. He will be with us for the vast majority of all the major segments and the special bit at the end of the program. So even though you may not hear him for 100% of the episode, when it comes to breaking down WrestleMania and all the big items from Monday Night Raw, Vintage will be heard. As we get into the program, let me first remind you that we have not one but two WWE WrestleMania 42 instant analysis episodes. The first one's 2 hours. The second one is nearly 2.5 hours. Vintage and the Silver King, we break down everything that happened across night one and night two. We give you match results, grades, our overall thoughts on the presentations of the show. Obviously, the match time was an issue. The advertising, the quality of the wrestling. We really go through everything. You do not want to miss those instant analysis episodes. Of course, we will on this show be giving you a second look at WrestleMania 42, basically wrapping up anything that we did not say on those two episodes, clearing out our notebooks and kind of resetting the stage for the Raw after WrestleMania and everything that is to come in WWE. That is how the show is going to kick off, with that second look. Then we'll hit the main event. We'll give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. And as a special segment on this edition of the show, for the first time ever, there will be a Hey Now Championship gauntlet match.
Oh! Yes! I love that!
I know you love that, Montez Ford, and that is what everyone is going to get here on the show. We figured rather than dropping in and out with Hey Nows during this episode, the WrestleMania instant analyses, we would allow the current champion, Stephanie Vaquer, to go through the gauntlet and find out if she comes out on the other side. So stay tuned for that at the end of today's program. I see vintage Chris Vanini has taken his chair, so we are good to begin the WWE WrestleMania 42 second look. Now, before we go night by night and match by match, a couple general topics here off the top for us to discuss. Vintage, I have an official ranking of my 3 favorite entrances from WrestleMania 42. I'll take a little bit of time to explain them so you can formulate your top 3, but mine in order are the Demon Finn Balor, which I just thought was extraordinary, going right back to the base level of that character. CM Punk, which you and I obviously both loved. The third one was a little bit more difficult, but while rewatching WrestleMania, it ended up being clear: Seth Rollins. It was simple, but it nailed a WrestleMania special entrance for a non-main event or a non-character like the Demon. It looked cool as hell with the smoking mask and jacket, and it was memorable. And those are the 3 key tenets for special WrestleMania entrances. So Balor, Punk, Rollins in order. What were your 3 favorite entrances?
Good list. Good to be here. If I sound different to people, I'm rotating. I'm at a college football playoff meeting, so I'm doing this show on a couple different spots. But my number one, CM Punk. it is the thing I have rewatched the most from Mania, is that entrance with AFI, the song that he used back in ROH. I've started listening to some more AFI again over the weekend because of it. His last two entrances at the last two WrestleManias were just perfect. I thought it was awesome. Roman Reigns number 2, in part because they went back to the correct theme, the head of the table theme. Great to hear that back. I loved how they showed the family members in the visual there on the stage.
Yeah, the screen.
But I feel like they could have shown a lot more of it was really only like, I think the same 4 people with just different pictures of them. One of them was Yokozuna, one of them was Sika. But you could have put like the Usos up there or Solo up there, or The Rock up there. Like I thought
it was deceased family members. That was the point.
So right, but I'm saying like it would have been cool to like do like the whole family, because they just rotated through the same couple of pictures.
Sure.
I'm nitpicking. It was really great. And then my third one, Seth Rollins.
You'll never give Finn Balor credit, bro. Ever. It's unbelievable. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's a demon entrance. They're good. They're cool. It was just
it was so freaking cool.
The Seth entrance was something new we'd seen from him. I love the smoke coming out of the jacket. That was a really cool thing. The Demon's right up there, probably number 4.
What we have talked about extensively, of course, already, is everything that did happen at WrestleMania. We didn't mention something that didn't happen, and that was Stone Cold Steve Austin not showing up despite living in Las Vegas and appearing a year ago. I was flabbergasted that he didn't show up. Now, maybe it's because of what happened last year with the ATV and potentially Austin being drunk and crashing into the barricade, but I don't know. Stone Cold Steve Austin, Las Vegas. How was he not there?
I think one of my biggest takeaways from this WrestleMania, looking back on it, was how it didn't feel big in many senses of the word. And one of those is leaning into WWE's history. There was no Undertaker on the show, no Austin on the show. Show a couple people, sitting in the crowd, but that was mostly celebrities.
Right.
Normally, you have the Hall of Fame thing, and that was fine. But on the actual WrestleMania show, very little discussion, talk of WWE history, the legends, any of that stuff. And I was thinking literally yesterday when I was walking the dog, I was like, yeah, why didn't we get Austin again?
Yeah.
So very disappointing.
In many ways, it came off like a souped up SummerSlam as opposed to a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Especially on night 1. But yeah, really across the board. From a rewatch standpoint, I just want to tell everyone, I had no issues with advertising on either Netflix using VPN or ESPN for that matter. I know people were really annoyed about, obviously, the ads live, but even replaying it immediately after the shows were over, starting late, you couldn't fast forward. Totally. I watched night 1 replay on Netflix, night 2 replay on ESPN to see the differences in the viewing experience. The biggest issue with ESPN is that fast forwarding is insane. It has 2 speeds, incrementally slow or insanely fast, where you have to be on your game. And because there's so much stuff to fast forward on a rewatch, Netflix was actually better in that regard, but ESPN was not bad at all. The live experience, generally better with Netflix, but this year you were choosing between Hulk Hogan documentary clips or commercials. And I got to tell you, Chris, when WrestleMania was over, I said to myself, as much as I love NordVPN, especially for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and most premium live events, I said to myself, you know what? Maybe I should have just watched WrestleMania on ESPN, because at least the commercials would have been a little bit more varied.
But you're saying you didn't mind all the commercials?
What do you mean? No, I hated the commercials. What are you talking about?
Oh, I thought you just said you did on second watch. It wasn't so bad.
No, on second watch, you don't have to stop for them. It let me fast forward everything. It wasn't an issue. So on Netflix and ESPN, there were no like hard breaks where you had to watch the commercials to move on, basically.
Okay.
What I'm saying.
Well, sure. Live in the moment, really the biggest issue was like, again, you're not going backstage to show things. You're not doing so. All the video packages
that's the problem
that we complained didn't happen. Those apparently happened in the stadium.
They did, yeah.
Just during those commercial breaks that we got. So instead of giving us that stuff to help bring people up to speed on a match or give you a reason to care about these wrestlers beyond this one night, they just fed you commercials.
Ironically, the video packages were given to the people who probably needed them the least. Those paying a lot of money to be there. And not those who needed them the most, the casual people watching at home on ESPN.
Exactly. So the ads, it's not just like, oh, we got a lot of ads. It's what we didn't get.
Exactly.
We got the ads. We didn't get
precisely
stuff going around, or John Cena doing host stuff, or Peter Rosenberg or whatever doing something. It was just match segment. Like that was it, with big breaks in between. And it was like a period of like 45 minutes almost of downtime on night 1 before the main event or something like that. It was... It was rough.
The key is this, like, they're not going to reduce the ads and promotion. Okay. Expand the show then. Make each night 4.5 hours, the additional 30 minutes being wrestling, video packages, all that extra stuff. It's at least a solve for the issue. There is no reason, especially for a West Coast show that starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, there is no reason that it's ending that early without enough wrestling. I don't want to take too much time because we do have a limited period here, but I think we agree on that point. Ironically, on Sunday's show, though, speaking of time, I equated night 2 to Raw and night 1 to SmackDown. Funny enough, I realized Sunday ended 30 minutes shy of its potential runtime, exactly like Raw does every week. So I thought that was just interesting. We mentioned this over the weekend. You said it just now. Not having all the video packages was a huge miss. They were on those countdown shows. Only a fraction of the audience is watching that, though, and they're definitely not watching for 3 straight hours. The overall sentiment after watching again, it's so many matches that were not PLE quality, especially on night 1. Runtime had more to do with that than anything else. There's no avoiding that blatant fact. The work was solid from those involved really in every match. But if you don't have time to showcase your ability, how can you call this the showcase of the immortals? How can you consider this WrestleMania? WWE can get away with 6 minutes of ads and promotions and then 6 minutes of entrances for each match if the wrestling is 15 to 20 minutes after that. What you cannot do is 6 minutes of ads, 6 minutes of entrances, 6 minutes of wrestling, and then repeat that cycle for 4 hours. What contextualized this best to me was a post I saw and confirmed that stated 37% of the show across both nights was wrestling. That was down from 47% 1 year ago at WrestleMania 40, 48% at WrestleMania 39. So you're nearly at 50% the last 2 years, and now you were almost down to a third. That's 10% plus less wrestling than any other WrestleMania in history. And that individually was the biggest problem. When you add in the lack of video packages, you're probably talking about 15% less content than any other WrestleMania that came before it. That is way, way, way too big of a dip. And it is directly the reason night 1 was trash and night 2, while much better, was not as great as it could have been if it had a little bit more time. The match time was the same on Saturday and Sunday Vintage, but Sunday had 1 fewer match. So what does that tell you about Saturday?
Not only that, it was a half-hour shorter show.
Right. It could have had even more wrestling.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, we've gone so overboard so quickly with all the ads and stoppages. Like, that, even just the last couple of years, you just laid out the numbers. That's how stark it is. And it's like, are we actually even here to do a wrestling company? And I don't think it's a coincidence that it felt like things under Triple H and wrestling and all that had peaked at WrestleMania 40 and has continued to feel worse and worse the last 2 years. And it coincides with simply just giving us less of what we're here for.
Indeed. Lastly, just wanted to note, I said we would answer a lot of your questions and comments here on the second look. Unfortunately, going through our mentions and DMs on social media, most of you were kind of just stating the same points we had already made on the show. And we love the interaction, and it's great that you did that. But if you're not asking like specific questions for us to then expand upon, it's difficult for us to involve it in the show. So we do have some inclusion here. It's just not as much as I expected. And a lot of it actually came from the Getting Over Slack. And if you want to join, you can do so for free. Click the link in our social media profiles at Getting Overcast. Okay. WWE WrestleMania 42 second look, night by night, match by match. Let's start with Saturday night 1. WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton with Pat McAfee there. Orton was the only one of the 8 wrestlers who competed in a world title match across both shows and did not receive any type of special entrance. Yeah, he had the Viper like graphic package, but literally that was it. Everyone else had something special across both shows. As we said Saturday, the McAfee and Jelly Roll bit before the match was totally fine. In fact, it was good. The problem was the baggage associated with it. I missed that when McAfee gave the thumbs up like an athlete getting wheeled out after taking the elbow drop. He converted the thumbs up into a middle finger, so that was pretty funny on second watch. And him running back down in the referee shirt and neck brace, that's typical wrestling. It's ironic that his involvement Saturday was so much less of a problem than the 4 weeks build that led up to his inclusion, which was horrific. Regarding the match, the 2 main issues, as mentioned, were the slow pace and the establishment of Orton's back issue, which was not addressed at all in the build, and the nonsensical RKO of McAfee. Yes, it was fitting. It comes with Orton's nature, the Viper. He's not always logical when he strikes and who he strikes. He did that with Nick Aldis, you'll remember. But considering the entire build, him turning on McAfee and that costing him the match was silly. Something else frustrating was Wade Barrett doing stronger storytelling during the early portion of the match than what we got on TV leading in. He referenced their match in the King of the Ring finals, which was not part of the build, not to mention everything else that was skipped over for the sake of a month of McAfee. Getting down to brass tacks, though, this was a good wrestling match. Second best of the night on Saturday. If it had the story coming in and more time, it probably would have hit somewhere in the A range. Orton's blade job through the finish was great, especially with Cody showing a different side of his character, the inverse from where he was last year in the same spot. But because of the interference finish and the slow start, it had a strong ceiling that it could not break through. Still, this is the lone match I'm actually going to upgrade from 3.5 to 3.75 stars B+. Had there been no interference, I actually believe this could have been a high A without McAfee and without all that bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, I said Saturday night, like, it actually was a good wrestling match and a good story that they told. The problem was just it kind of came out of nowhere because the back injury wasn't a thing coming in, and the story the previous 2 weeks had been McAfee, and I'm glad they got McAfee out of there, but suddenly we were kind of forced to react to a story they hadn't been telling us, and that was jarring. And like, as I thought back at this one, as I thought back more on this one, I can understand the thought process on paper. Like, I can see what they were going for and see some of the stuff and why it would work in this and that. It really, I think, had no chance in the eyes of fans because of the previous couple of weeks and how abrupt the story change was, to then talking about ticket prices and Ari Emanuel, and we just lost it. And the vibes were just bad coming in. And I don't think I don't think they could have really done much more to fix that otherwise. But the match itself was good.
That's precisely right. The vibes were so bad, it almost didn't matter what they did in the match. It just was ruined before it started. Women's World Championship, Stephanie Vaquera against Liv Morgan. I gave this 3.5 stars B. We spoke about Liv's entrance. I diminished the coolness of Stephanie's first WrestleMania setup. The confetti falling down, the long gown that she had, along with the souped up horns. She looked amazing, and she was presented appropriately as the champion entering the show. In fact, despite the hey now-iss of Morgan's entrance, Vaquera's was way better visually. It was obvious that this was going short when Vaquera pulled out 3 signature moves in the first couple of minutes. For all of our complaints about match timing across both nights, none was more disappointingly short than this, given the heat and the quality of the feud, plus the anticipation for them to actually fight. And even given the short time they had to not run this, if they only had 7-8 minutes, as a feral, high-paced sprint match, because both were attacking each other from behind viciously for weeks, was such a poor decision. Even with the short time, they could have made this a lot better, but the short time killed them. Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley had 24 minutes at WrestleMania 39. This got 1/4 of that time, and the 3 women's matches on this show barely scratched 24 minutes combined. Now, I did see a report from somewhere about this purposely being short because both were dealing with injuries. Bullshit. They were both working well. It was WrestleMania. Liv Morgan wrestled a full match, longer match, on Monday Night Raw afterward. If they're hurt, don't do the match. If they're cleared, what's the difference between 8 minutes and 14 minutes in terms of risk? Neither of them were couching their moves. Neither of them was giving less than 100%. They both did dives outside. Their work was great, which made it even more disappointing that it was cut short. That's why it's at a B. You're probably talking about an A match if they were given 5, 8, 10 more minutes.
Yeah, I wanted more, and based on Monday, who knows? We'll see what happens. But I think with Stephanie's entrance and also with Penta 2 on night 2, we kind of had to remember, like, this is their first WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, as much as they've been all over our screens for the last year, they actually debuted the night after Mania. So even though, Stephanie was losing a title and we were ready for a title change, it's still a big moment for her to get that.
No doubt. Jacob Fatu, Drew McIntyre, unsanctioned match. I gave this 3.75 stars B+. The most hardcore spot from this match came almost as soon as it started when McIntyre flung Fatu's head backwards into the base of the ring apron. I do believe Jacob tried to show color at one point. It did not work. As I said on the instant analysis, if this was Falls Count Anywhere, so we were only expecting a street fight, and they did the same finish outside through a table, this would have been received so much better. You cannot throw the unsanctioned label on something, put it on ESPN2, and then do a regular non-DQ match.
Yeah, no other thoughts on this. It was what it was. Would have liked more, but it was a tough spot.
Intercontinental Championship, AJ Lee, Becky Lynch, 3.25 stars B. AJ may ironically have a better manhandle slam than Becky. Okay, not better, different. She hits it from such a low angle because she's so short. It has a different type of impact. This was their best match together, but yes, it would have been even better with another 3 to 5 minutes. It was a beginning and end with no middle. If it had a middle, you're probably talking about a 4-star range match. They both did great. Becky now has more WrestleMania wins than any other women's wrestler with 5. She's literally Miss WrestleMania now. And yes, it is me saying that.
Yes, good match, kind of what I expected. I don't remember if we talked about it or not last time, but in the post-show, AJ said she may be going away for a while or didn't know if or when she'd be back, so it appears she may be taking another break, but good match to go out on.
Yeah, she did not sign like a full-time contract with WWE, but she did sign a multi-year contract, so she'll probably do, spurts here and there of extended work and then go away, and that's totally fine. She doesn't need to be on TV regularly. Just getting her whenever we get her is nice. Seth Rollins against Gunther, 4.25 stars A. Barrett at the bell said Rollins is this generation's Mr. WrestleMania, correcting that dumb shit said by Cody Rhodes. I think it was about CM Punk on Friday night before. So yes, Seth Rollins, modern Mr. WrestleMania. Yeah. And then Michael Cole, for no reason, while they were brawling, told us, y'all shouldn't expect a 5-star match. Why should we not expect that, Mike? 2 of the best wrestlers in the company, 2 of the best wrestlers in the world. Why would you diminish our expectations? This match effing rocked. 2 of the best in the world wrestling like it. Another 5 minutes would have taken this to another level, but given the Braun Breaker finish, the lack of storyline coming in, getting 18 minutes was more than fine circumstantially. Speaking of Breaker, I explained the blindside spear well on the instant analysis, and on the Ultimate Preview, I believe I had that exactly. But I do wish they had done it even further away from the announce table, just to make it more understandable that the referee couldn't see it. Also, as I said before, I wish Gunther had won with a pinfall and not another sleeper. Since Breaker attacked the midsection, the powerbomb and a splash would have been more than fine going after the same area of the body. Regarding the lack of the 3-arm drop and our preference to see that in a situation like this, I agree with you 100% of the time. However, I do want to point out, the referee did not just nudge Seth's arm. He grabbed his hand, tried to squeeze it, did not get squeezed back, and then shook it back and forth 3 or 4 times, did not get a response, and called for the bell. So he called the match, and he didn't do the arm drop, but for me, it was the best non-arm drop version of a knockout that we've seen, so I want to at least acknowledge that.
Sure, but again, and I know, look, his right arm was hooked, the left arm was on the mat. It wouldn't have been as visual as you'd kind of normally like to do it. But again, a sleeper, it's a stupid way to finish a match.
Yeah.
And it always has been. It's so anticlimactic. The Cena smiling and tapping was the only interesting one because it was different.
And he tapped
do it differently. Yeah, and he tapped. Like, it's so frustrating because all these big things for Gunther, they end with kind of like farts because that's a sleeper is a weird way to finish and it's just not impactful. Finish things impactfully. Yep. There's the only thing I didn't like about this match. I thought it was great. I thought it was awesome. It was everything you would expect from these guys. I didn't understand the whole people really upset about the DQ or whatever. Like it was obvious the ref it wasn't like he was next to the announce table.
No, he was nowhere. He was a blindside on the ring. There's no way he saw that.
Yeah, it was a side. It was on the side barricade. That stuff happens all the time in wrestling matches.
Guess what?
Was fine.
It happened Monday night.
Yeah,
literally happened on Monday night. 2 other quick notes from this. George Kittle behind commentary was losing his mind during this match. That was really cool to see. And something I realized about that second spear from Breaker when he ran down the ramp. In reality, if you're Seth Rollins and you have 75 feet and you see a guy running at you full speed, you're going to turn your body a little bit. You're going to try to get out of the way. So it was kind of legitimate. Now, it's a fair point to note that it was not a full-on spear, but it was safer to do what they did, and it was actually more realistic the way it was executed, because if you're Rollins, you would never take that brunt full-on. It just wouldn't make any sense.
It was actually less bad when I watched it on replay.
It was less bad, I agree, yes. Women's Tag Team Championship, Irresistible Forces against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. Supposedly the Bella Twins, obviously Paige replaced Nikki Bella, and Bayley and Lyra Valkyria. 3 stars B-. It was cool that the whole stadium did Lyra's woos. That's a small victory. I also overlooked that she and Bayley had matching gear, so thumbs up. Despite my criticism of Charlexa using the wings, Bliss actually had one of the best individual ring gear looks out of anyone at WrestleMania. I missed this live because they were wearing white, but the Forces gear was an homage to Demolition.
Yeah.
Looking at it a second time, they had the masks, the spikes. It was obvious. The pop for Paige was truly insane. I saw some fan videos of it live without production. It was so cool. 8 wrestlers getting 8 minutes was ridiculous. This didn't have a chance to be anything more than it was. And spoiler alert, there was 0 follow-up with either Bayley or Lyra on Raw this Monday night. The champions were only sitting in the crowd, so it seems like the immediate direction is to start them on SmackDown. Infuriating the way Bayley and Lyra were so marginalized when the entire storyline coming in was them atoning for 12 months ago and winning the championships at WrestleMania.
Yes. Are Bayley and Lyra on SmackDown, though? Or
they are Raw superstars.
Okay. Yeah, that's very disappointing.
Yeah. Now, maybe they're switching.
Disappointment.
Maybe they switch over, and then that could work. But, yeah, we didn't see them.
And same disappointment I had with the match.
LA Knight and the Usos against Isha Speed and the Vision, 2 stars, C-. Nothing additional to say about this. It wasn't even enough of a match to conclude the actual storyline beef, let alone feature Speed, who did get his frog splash. I just feel like he could have done a lot more to impress people if they were given time. The amount of folks there who did his emote, it proved out his popularity and why he was on the show. So good for him.
Also, it's the Ronaldo celebration
from
soccer. It's not. It's the kind of thing he's taken for himself. Yeah, this was. I would have liked it a little bit longer, a little bit more. I did wonder too afterward, having Isha Speed do this really impressive frog splash, only to have the next day Punk do a similar spot, just an elbow, and make Punk look less, athletic or whatever because of the way Isha Speed did it. Was interesting. They did 2 of those spots, especially one of them being in the main event of night 2. But either way, he did a good job with it. Again, I didn't really have an issue with him being in this, and he did his job. It's
a fair point. They literally bookended the show, the first match and the last match. So if you're going to do 2 spots like that, they were literally as far apart as they possibly could be. So yeah. Bianca Belair pregnancy announcement. So happy to see Bianca back, looking great coming down to the ring. I didn't even realize live she didn't have her braid attached to her hair. It was done up, but it was not done up with the braid where it's all like circled, I just noticed that on rewatch. She also looked so ridiculously happy and emotional while out there. I truly hope the baby is healthy and she's up to returning inside of the next 12 months. Her absence has been missed. And yes, we are allowed to be selfish. We are viewers and fans and critics. Obviously, her health and their family is most important. I want Bianca Belair on my screen. Also, we've joked about how Asuka has like a pregnancy impact on the women's division, right? But has that now moved to Jade Cargill? Because it's Bianca and Naomi now inside of a few months, and Jade has been the tie that binds them. Has she taken the mantle from Asuka? I think she has.
Yeah, she obviously wasn't there when Becky got pregnant, but yeah, good for them.
I'm saying taking the mantle, it changed. In terms of grading, you were at a C+, I was at a B. On the Night 2 instant analysis, I talked about dropping my overall grade here, a couple of points. Watching the show back, I honestly couldn't get much lower. When the biggest issue was match time, not the booking decisions, the work of the wrestlers, or anything like that. If every match on this show was 5 minutes longer, you're probably talking about something in the A- range based on what was booked. I really believe that because the number one issue was match time.
Well, that rewatch you just said didn't include the commercials.
True.
And that's a big part of
But I'm still downgrading it. But I'm still downgrading it despite that. I'm just pointing out that watching live, if you had 7 matches, 35 more minutes of wrestling, I know that's a lot. Don't get me wrong. I think the whole show is received differently. The booking wasn't poor. Yeah. The work wasn't poor. It was literally just the match time. That was the biggest issue. So
the match time coupled with the commercials taking into the match.
Coupled with why the matches were short. And it was commercial and promotion. Totally. So I'm at an 82 B-. I dropped at 1 point. We're really splitting hairs here.
I'm sticking with my C+.
Moving over to Night 2, World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk, Roman Reigns. I gave this 5 stars plus A++. I'm keeping that. I said this was Punk's last WrestleMania main event. That's probably true. But the one match that would still live up to the billing would be against Cody Rhodes. So perhaps there's one more coming, but that would be it. Joe Harley at Joe Harley Does wrote in to tell us Punk did not just remove the Ula Fala from a planted fan. He removed it from UFC light heavyweight champion Carlos Ulberg. Like Dakota Kai, he is a New Zealander of Samoan descent. So pretty cool synergy there. The trash talk from Reigns early in this match saying it wasn't promo day and they weren't on Twitter. Really cool way to refer back to their earlier stuff and establish his dominance in the opening stages. Punk doing the Superman punch motion actually made me laugh on rewatch. He does so many little things in matches that take him to the next level, such as giving a thumbs up while in the guillotine, making little facial expressions while selling, laughing while covering after the low blow, thinking he got one over on Roman. That whole sequence was amazing. He's just a next level performer. Reigns does a great guillotine, and what I appreciate about it is it's not just automatically the only way he wins matches, like what we just said is happening with Gunther and the sleeper hold. He needs to get away from that, Gunther does, because it's taken a dominant guy and made him into like a one-trick pony, whereas Reigns, he did the guillotine, but he still has the spear, the Superman punch, and a lot of other moves that can finish people. Something I didn't notice live, the referee had a bit of a fast count on the final 1, 2, 3. So not only did we not get a crescendo finish, it was not as dramatic of a 1, 2, 3. I'm not sure why he went so fast in the main event of WrestleMania, especially a decisive spot. Minor issues, still something I noticed. And lastly, Reigns did a great job selling for Punk. He gave him major respect at the end. Before he picked up the title, he turned and looked at him for like 30 seconds. Like, I can't believe you took me this far. He was astonished. And then he had real appreciation for the title. He looked at it as a legitimately huge achievement and didn't even fully grasp it at first because he was so exhausted trying to collect himself. The post-match was extremely well done, just as the match was.
5-star stuff, everything you want from wrestling. That match and Punk especially, it made you feel things. And it reminds you like wrestling is about creating these feelings. It's not just doing a moment for a moment's sake. It's about taking somebody along for the journey. Also, the post-match was pretty funny. The videos around of Punk just kind of stumbling around, like he was knocked out, were pretty funny. Yeah. Funny stuff. And someone to point out, I didn't realize this. So Punk did the GTS into the rope, catch him again, GTS finish to Moxley in AEW, to Rollins at WWE, and then he couldn't finish it against Roman. Unbelievable touch, little touch there for the Easter egg for people who didn't realize it like me. Really cool.
Yeah, I remembered the Rollins one. I forgot the Moxley one. So that's a nice thing to point out for sure. That's really cool. Oba Femi, Brock Lesnar, 3.5 stars beef, 4 slabs of beef. Obviously thought both would be higher. There was a video package for Oba on the countdown and social media as well that we did not discuss, but it included Nick Saban, the best college football coach of all time, giving a kayfabe comment about how he must not be a good recruiter because he missed that Oba was a thrower on the Alabama campus while he was coaching and never brought him onto the football team. It was actually some pretty great dry humor for Saban. I just wanted to give him credit. Even 3 more minutes, just 3, this would have been considered an epic. It was still tremendous as executed. It could have potentially been a legendary, big, meaty match with just a little bit more. But again, it's hard to criticize this in any real way. I saw people claiming Oba did not sell the F5. This pissed me off so much. Rewatching confirmed, it's just not true. First of all, he sold the German suplexes, all of them. Then on the F5, did he quickly get to his knees? He did. But he was shaky, unable to stand up right away. He got at least 5 to 10 seconds of sell. But the whole idea was, yes, it was not going to affect him like it did other wrestlers. He got up, chokeslam, and fall from grace and won. I thought he did perfectly well. Oba doing the hats off gesture to Brock after the match, really sweet moment. And while I initially wondered why he didn't stay in the ring to celebrate because it was his moment, he was the winner, it ultimately made so much sense due to Lesnar's retirement sequence. Heyman sold the finish incredibly well too. Pure shock and awe at what he was seeing. And no, the irony was not lost on me that Lesnar finally lost a big match to a black guy and immediately decided to retire. Half joking. But seriously, if this was a surprise retirement and there's nothing with Gunther on the other side, it was quite well done, even in an unexpected sense.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add. It was good. It was what it was. As always, would have liked a little bit more. But some funny tweets from Kofi Kingston about Avenged. Some pictures of Big E and Kofi and Bobby Lashley looking down. Funny stuff.
WWE Championship, Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, 4 stars, A-. Man, oh man, did I love this match. The perfect pacing and construction, booking, whole 9 yards. I wish the Jade boot with the EO moonsault was timed just a little bit better, but that's literally the only note. The finishing sequence was arguably the best across both nights, and Ripley beating Cargill after going a year without holding the main title, it felt fresh. She badly needed a break without the championship. I still hate how Io and Asuka were left off the show, but they could have been part of it even with this match happening. Still great stuff here. Ripley is the first superstar to win all 4 versions of the Women's Championship since they retired the Divas title: Raw, SmackDown, WWE, and World.
Yeah, I think Jade deserves more props coming out of this than she got.
She does.
She's not getting them because she lost, and people think, oh, they took the title off of her, but she put in a great match. I had said coming in, is this a make or break moment for Jade? She lost the title, so I don't know what that means, but she showed that, she could still get better as a wrestler and did on this night.
Intercontinental Championship, Penta, Javon Evans, Dragon Lee, Rusev, JD McDonough, Rey Mysterio in a ladder match, 4.5 stars A. They accomplished so much in such a short period of time. Javon had a crazy moment of realization walking down the ramp that I missed live. You can see him say, F, damn, like, I'm at WrestleMania. How ridiculously cool for him. Ray's West Coast pop, the seated senton through the ladder with Rusev, phenomenal visually, super smooth. We talked about Ray doing this match at age 51. He did well, and it was awesome that he added gravitas to it as a legend. Speaking of Evans, when he did the OG cutter off the ring post, I didn't realize he walked up to the top rope using a leaning ladder from the outside. Made it even cooler. But this match was amazing. It was the second best match at WrestleMania.
Speaking of entrances, Ray had a good entrance.
He
doing
did.
the whole shoot up from the bottom of the stage thing that he used to do back in the day. It's cool to see that again. Yeah, so that was good. We didn't get to see Dragon Lee's Dragon Wings for his entrance, because that was during commercial. We didn't get his entrance. That would have been cool to see on the show, but good match.
Something else I saw seriously misunderstood. Becky Lynch did an interview with one of the guys from that show Billions on Showtime previously. Forgot the guy's name. Dan Soder. Is that maybe his name? Anyway, she did an interview and he was asking about like travel and gear and what WWE pays for and what it doesn't. She goes, no, we pay for our own gear. That is 1000% true. However, when it comes to big shows and special entrances, WWE pays for the gear. So people were all up in arms that Dragon Lee spent whatever thousands of dollars to get these Dragon Wings and WWE didn't even show it on TV. Look, it was better for this match to get time than to see Dragon and Rusev get entrances, number one. Number two, that special gear that is made for these wrestlers for big shows like this and their special entrances, Seth Rollins' smoking jacket and mask, Jade Cargill's everything that she wore, all that, WWE pays for that stuff. Do the wrestlers still pay for like their travel and hotels and stuff when they're on the road going to Raw and so on and so forth? Many of them do. Some of them, like Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, they have their tour bus paid for by WWE. And when they go to major events, when they put them up in hotels like for WrestleMania, WWE foots that bill. So yes, they do still pay for a lot of their gear and a lot of their travel and a lot of their expenses. So no question, what Becky said is correct, but that is not 100% of the time. And when it comes to WrestleMania, it is not the case. I just wanted to clarify that. Finn Balor, the Demon against Dominic Mysterio in a street fight, 4 stars, A-. Same deal as the other matches. Would have been even better with more time, but this was exactly what it needed to be for Balor and the Demon. Those stiff chair shots were more hardcore than some of the stuff in the actual unsanctioned match with McIntyre and Fatu.
Yes, I would agree. Good match. Nothing really more to add. It kind of was what needed to be.
United States Championship, Sami Zayn against Trick Williams, 3.25 stars B. I actually just skipped this on rewatch. I had no desire to see it. Once I saw Trick's like CVS receipt entrance, I was just out. So no additional notes. Anything from you?
It's the match. It's the night 2 match that needed more time, just like Liv and Stephanie on night 1.
Exactly right. Grades, I was at 95A for night 2. You were at 92A-. I'm actually going up 1 with that 95. I think I originally said 94. I had like a little thing I was keeping track of like I was at an A, then I went down to an A-. Then, I kept bouncing around. And I realized I just sold it short at the end of the show. I really, really enjoyed night 2. And I believe that my 95 grade is more correct than your 92, but of course they're very close.
I'm sticking with my 92. Everything they gave us was good, but it's in the context of all the commercial breaks, not enough wrestling. There was too much missing. The show overall felt too cheap to get an A on either night, but A-.
Yeah, it did feel like we got shorted, especially night 1. Way shorted on night 1. Final grades, 88B+ for me, 86B from you. Our listeners are getting overheads. You all had the opportunity to vote Monday. 3% A, 33% A- to B+, 56% B to B-, 8% C+ or lower. That averaged out to an 87.12, a B+, literally right between our grades. And isn't that how it always works?
One other thing, the Danhausen John Cena segment, rewatching that, Michael Cole saying over and over, like, this is the greatest WrestleMania moment of all time, just kills the vibe.
Kills it, man.
Like you gotta let things breathe and not hit somebody over the head and tell them how funny it is. That ruins the comedy of what you're doing. It really took me out of it.
Did you have another one?
Yep. And the other one was in the post show. I think when Roman was talking, there was an FTKO chant from the crowd that they couldn't quite make out what they were saying. But that's that kind of type of stuff. Even after that main event, may continue.
Yeah, I saw stories written about that. I mean, it was like 15 people for 5 seconds. I'm not diminishing it, like it happened, but it's not like the whole crowd was doing it. When Paul Levesque got booed.
No, I know.
When Paul Levesque, I forget what show that was where he got booed. Was that like
Saturday night's main event when Cena lost?
That's what it was. It was not that. I mean, that was universal distaste from the crowd, which was poorly placed in many, aspects because they were angry Cena lost the match. But this was like 15 people. Also, I saw people criticizing Paul Levesque for not being on the post shows. First, you hate that he's on them. Now you're criticizing him for not being on them. But he was on SportsCenter immediately after WrestleMania. So he had something else that he was doing. And arguably, he was doing it for a larger audience. So it's just unbelievable the way people twist stuff. I just wanted to put that out there. There is a lot of show left, but before we get to it, Silver King does need to remind you that whether it is Raw, SmackDown, and NXT or premium live events like WrestleMania, we these days are all in watching on Netflix with NordVPN. It is easy to set up a drastically better viewing experience each night. You get the same high quality streams, except they become commercial-free shows. All you have to do is sign up at nordvpn.com/gettingover, open the app, quick connect to another country like the United Kingdom, open Netflix and watch the program. That was crucial for WrestleMania. It's going to be huge for the rest of the year. NordVPN also allows you to get around online censorship and surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, and you can use one account on 10 different devices. To get the best discount, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan, and there's no risk, nor does a 30-day money-back guarantee. So improve your WWE viewing, save some money, browse safer online, and get the best discount for the best VPN at nordvpn.com/gettingover. We love having NordVPN as the official singular sponsor of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Vintage did need to step away for a moment. He will be back shortly for the main event, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and the rest of the show. And all of those are coming up.
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
First is just a general take I wanted to share with everyone coming off of watching the SmackDown before WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, and really both nights of WrestleMania as well. WWE needs to start doing the cold open arena entrance walks as like a live stream on social media 15 minutes before the show. They cannot start Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown with these every week. It is such a low energy way to begin these programs. If you don't want to do big pyro entrances at the beginning, that's okay. You don't have to do that. But at least start with the superstar in the ring or their entrance music leading them to the ring. These slow walks just does not get you energized and jacked up for the program. And they are, I enjoy them. Let me get that clear. I'm just saying, do them on social media as a live stream, have that lead into the program. And that's also a way to promote Raw on Netflix and SmackDown on USA Network, saying, hey, everyone watching, these superstars entering the arena, make sure you flip over and follow the show. It's a way to get the social media audience directly into your television programs. PW Insider reported Sunday that one of the primary pitches considered for the Randy Orton feud going into WrestleMania was the entire deal with Aleister Black we saw happening on TV earlier this year. The idea was for it to continue all the way to WrestleMania. The general concept was that Black would be trying to coax this apex predator character out of Orton by continuing to torment him, leading to Orton not using the punt kick in their match, losing to Black, and that defeat would snap Orton out of his babyface mindset, resulting in him punt kicking Cody Rhodes later, perhaps after the main event, setting up their feud out of WrestleMania, presumably into SummerSlam. To me, that makes all the sense in the world, because you would have seen Orton Black at WrestleMania, the match we thought we were going to get before he won Elimination Chamber, and Cody would not have won the title on TV. Drew would have taken it into WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre. You get a triple threat. Cody wins on the big show. Randy Orton turns on him, punt kicks him, and you get a huge moment to close night one of WrestleMania. And let me clarify. It would have been McIntyre, Jacob Fatu, and Cody Rhodes all kind of combined there together. Both would have been better than the equivalent matches and storylines we got, which just goes to show how the TKO and Pat McAfee involvement really screwed up Paul Levesque's booking. Royce Keys, in an interview last week, said he was not at all bothered by his break between Royal Rumble and appearing on SmackDown just before WrestleMania, indicating that it appeared to be the plan all along. He said what annoyed him the most was fans making it out as if he was being marginalized or something like that, especially when he started doing dark matches, which Keys said he asked Paul Levesque if he could do because he wanted to entertain fans and stay fresh until he was called on for TV. Completely reasonable. Exactly what we expected was the case. Pat McAfee continued wearing his neck brace through the weekend onto his show Monday afternoon. Credit to him for selling and keeping kayfabe. As I said earlier, McAfee's work Saturday onward was actually fine. It's just the month beforehand and all of his promos that were absolutely horrendous. He said Cody proved him wrong and proved that he is the one. And he said, well, I guess the business doesn't need to be saved after all.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, I guess the terrible TV I did for a month didn't matter at all. What a weak way to end something. It felt like they were developing into a full story. It is so thin. This whole thing, we knew it was going to be. This whole thing with McAfee was nothing. He also confirmed that his wrestling career is officially over, which if they were going to do that as a storyline, that would have actually worked as a WrestleMania celebrity match with a stipulation against a wrestler who disliked him. Just not the main event of the show. Last note on McAfee. Does anyone remember the scene in the later seasons of The Office where Plop and Clark would just clap like seals whenever Andy did anything because they realized brown-nosing worked? That's precisely the way all of these sycophants on the McAfee show act when he says anything. They just agree. It doesn't matter what he says, how inane or asinine it is. They just clap like seals. It bothers me to no end. And lastly here, an answer provided by TKO president Mark Shapiro to a question asked by a University of Alabama student was seriously taken out of context. No one would ever do that about something related to WWE, of course, how shocking. But the student basically asked him, with TKO now owning WWE, how much control does it assert over the brand, including creative? This was twisted so that the kid's question was only about creative, which it was not. But Shapiro obviously said TKO has full control because, it was literally formed 50% from WWE and 50% from UFC. And that's what he first explained to the student. Shapiro said WWE is exploding in every metric, and by putting Monday Night Raw on Netflix, it has tripled their audience. He also said TKO is spending a lot more money to market WWE, and by expanding the audience, he admitted they will also chase some people away, primarily due to cost. This was twisted to make it sound like Shapiro was saying they were deeply involved in creative and didn't care about chasing fans away with celebrity involvement. That is not at all what he said. He was just speaking to the realities of expanding the audience and it becoming more expensive to watch the product. It was actually a surprisingly nuanced and fair answer. But again, it being twisted and taken out of context, not at all surprising when it seemed like everything this week was attempting to paint WWE in a worse light than it was painting itself based on the way it booked WrestleMania and scheduled especially night one with all those short matches. So I just wanted to clarify all that, give you a new segment as we got into the show. Obviously, there is plenty still to come here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. Vintage Chris Vanini is back. He is seated, and we are sliding into the main event.
This is the main event.
We have a two-part main event coming out of the Raw after WrestleMania. Let's start with CM Punk, who received a mixed reaction, walking through gorilla position and stepping on stage in darkness before entering the same way he did at WrestleMania. Seems like that's the new format, which works if he's going to be a heel, not so much for a babyface. Vintage, what did you think about the whole walk through in silence, get onto the stage, tap down twice, it's clobber in time, and then the music hits?
Well, obviously he did that at Mania too, as I mentioned. It is an interest. I don't know if it's just kind of a one-off thing. I think I actually have the bigger issue with him not saying it's clobbering time.
Yeah. At WrestleMania, he goes, it's clobbering. And then on Raw, he goes, it's. And that was it.
Yeah. So I don't think it's a heel thing. I think it's more of just it's a unique thing, but I don't like it because the music hitting is the moment. That's wrestling.
Completely agree. Yeah. Like you want that music to hit when he makes his walkout, or if you're going to do it this way, at least finish it's clobbering time and then hit the music. Well, pick one, basically. Anyway, Punk is entering here, and as he does, this may have just been a me thing, the director twice showed this individual woman in the crowd. And let's just say...
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
That doesn't count for the Hey Now Championship. More on that later in the show. Punk received chants and cheers when he got in the ring, which was interesting as a switch. He spoke about dealing with a lot of loss over the last 6 months, referenced on his WrestleMania jacket all those names, and he actually generated a standing ovation for all of the people he spoke about. I thought the jacket was touching. This was even more awesome of him to do. And even the crowd had to get their mind right a little bit, because as he was starting to go through the names, they were whatting him. And then they realized, oh, wait, he's talking about people who are deceased. We probably should shut our mouths. But the standing ovation that everyone got, I was not expecting that to start Raw. That was pretty damn cool. Punk thanked the fans for supporting him as World Heavyweight Champion, which he said was catharsis as he dealt with all that grief. And he hoped that they would be by his side dealing with the less important loss that still hurt, of course, dropping the title. He also said he's not about to take a break from WWE. That was an important note for him to make, and that he was never supposed to be champion after Seth Rollins cashed in on him, but he made the most of this reign and remains a badass as well as the best in the world. Punk said he was proud of his performance. He's not going to sulk. He's going to stay ready for another championship opportunity. And right on cue, enter Cody Rhodes, sporting one of the nastiest shiners I have ever seen, receiving a mix of cheers and boos. Punk was confused why he was there, asking if he went over his time and wondering if Rhodes thought he was about to freak out.
Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not going to do what everyone thinks I'm going to do. Flip out, man.
You know, Vintage, we talk about movies you have and have not seen. Have you seen Half Baked?
Not start to finish. I know the movie and I've seen clips, but not the whole thing.
Who am I doing this show with? I don't...
What year was that movie?
I don't know, but not that. I mean, Dave Chappelle's the lead.
Yeah, 1998. Like, we're a little bit different generationally. Like, I was 7-8 years old in
okay,
1998.
But 7 years later, it was still a relevant movie when you were in high school.
Yeah, but by that time, I've said I often don't go back to movies if I miss them at the time.
I mean, that's like saying, oh, I've never seen Die Hard because it came out in 1992 or whatever year it came out. I mean,
we had the Die Hard conversation on here.
It's just frustration, consistent frustration with someone who loves movies, not having seen Half Baked, which is a stoner comedy pillars, let's say, of this generation. Let's move on. It's fine. Cody said he felt weird being one of the two guys in the ring who came across like a loser. So Punk asked if he was calling him a loser, but it turned back friendly with him putting Rhodes over for doing the difficult work of fighting and beating a former friend and mentor, which he said was much harder than battling an enemy he hated. He had some great quips about Roman Reigns as well. Punk told Rhodes his path was clear. Just keep being champion, while Punk said he was staying ready for his next opportunity, all while staring at the WWE Championship. When Punk left the ring, Rhodes said, just say when, and dropped the mic. Like the rest of you, when Cody came out on cue, it sure as hell seemed to me like he was about to relinquish that title due to injury. It seemed like Punk had set that up perfectly, and they were kind of beating us over the head with the concept. Perhaps that was a purposeful swerve, but that shiner on Cody's eye, when you see someone walk out like that, you go, oh, he broke his orbital bone. He's about to relinquish the title. Punk's opening promo was exactly what it needed to be. I always appreciate when wrestlers just accept their losses. They don't make excuses. They just refocus on what's next. And he could have made an excuse because of the steel steps or, other things that happened in the match. It was a little bit heavy-handed by Punk to say the line about staying ready for another championship opportunity twice. He probably should have just saved that for the closing, but I get it. The idea was to recall something he uttered earlier. Cody showing that his ego and confidence took a major hit in victory. That was a really nice addition to his character. Rhodes has portrayed the shaken confidence gimmick before, but not as convincingly as he did Monday night, and that black eye being so disgusting definitely aided him. The best part of the segment was actually just the back and forth between them. It was so natural and fun. A top-level main event program between them would be ridiculously great. SummerSlam is certainly possible, but man, I'd probably save it for a major show in Chicago or next year's WrestleMania. Vintage, I thought this was a killer segment and accomplished a lot for both of their characters.
Well, really good. And remember, going into the Royal Rumble 2 years ago, like we ended at the go home with the idea that we were going to get Punk Rhodes. Like Punk talked about Cody going into that Rumble. We thought we were going to get it. We never did. So that will have to happen at some point. But just like Friday night, these guys have great chemistry. They're friends. Like it comes across very well on TV. And I thought Punk's promo was really good. And it wasn't as much repeating staying ready. It's just that was the through line to his entire promo, which was, I wasn't supposed to be champion, but I became champion because I stayed ready. I'm not the champion anymore, but I'm going to stay ready because you never know when that's going to happen. So that was good. I think Cody saying just say when was in kayfabe a little bit. I never liked that because it's like, well, why didn't Punk just challenge
turn
him
around,
now?
yeah.
Or is he going to challenge him later?
Right.
How does that process work? So I would have liked maybe a little more from Cody on that end, but overall, good stuff.
Yeah, like if you're Punk, you show up Friday on SmackDown, you say when, and you challenge him for Backlash. Like you're being given a championship opportunity on a platter, basically, from Cody. So why would you not take it right away?
Right. If Cody said like one day, we will,
Yeah.
see you there, but keep it more open-ended, keep it a little closed off and not as open.
Yeah, I agree. One day or, see you soon or something like that. Much better than just say when, which puts it in Punk's court to just demand a title opportunity that he may or may not deserve. He just lost the championship. He shouldn't necessarily get another one right away.
Or maybe he can't because he's a Raw superstar and he can't go over to SmackDown to challenge for that. How about
Maybe.
that?
Although there's a lot of faces and names changing places. At least on Monday there was, and possibly Friday as well. That is a fair point. And something else you mentioned, they teased this at the Royal Rumble or before the Royal Rumble a couple years ago. There have been two feuds that WWE has consistently been teasing since Cody returned. One of them was Randy Orton, and we have discussed ad nauseum what's happened there. The other is CM Punk. So if we get Punk at some point between now and 43, I think that's probably the right timing. You don't want to wait. Look, the guy is older than everyone else, and he is slower than everyone else. You don't want to wait too long. You do got to get it done. You have to make sure they're both healthy, not filming movies. Both of them do work in film and TV. And you want it at a big show. So sooner than later would be the move for that match.
Also, Cody leaning into the black eye is smart. Do that as much as possible. The same way he leaned into, obviously, the torn pec before that match.
Right.
Like, obviously, you didn't mean for that to happen, but any good pro wrestler like Cody Rhodes knows that's the story now. So I'm curious what happens on SmackDown.
I did laugh when he came out at first because I forgot about the swollen eye, and he had the sunglasses on, and I'm like, did he take Pat McAfee's sunglasses and like now he's running that gimmick? Like that was the first thought in my head. And then he took them off. I'm like, oh yeah. And then I was like, oh shit, that is nasty. So it was like a 3 different reactions in the span of 2 seconds in my little brain here. Now considering Punk twice talked about a title chance, quote, falling out of the sky. Did you take that to mean he might be alluding to Money in the Bank? That is literally where a championship opportunity is hanging in the sky after all. Now, let me give you some context. That event has been pushed back to September. It's going to be Labor Day weekend, the Sunday of week 1 of the college football season. I believe it's in New Orleans as make good, which isn't really a make good for them losing WrestleMania. So Money in the Bank is after SummerSlam. Perhaps he wins that contract and decides after a few months, still ahead of time, I'm going to cash this in at WrestleMania 43, similar to what John Cena did previously, and I think Rob Van Dam did as well, not doing a surprise cash-in, but stating a date and a show and ensuring he gets his title match. I could see something like that working extremely well to build the match. It would also help us because it would mean that Elimination Chamber for the men's side didn't have to be for a title. I loved all the teases in this segment, especially because this was the original, you'll remember, I've said this many times, night 1 main event plan for WrestleMania 42 that did not happen. So it seems like they're kind of coming back to it, saying, let's start the teasing, and we'll get you at some point over the next 12 months. What did you think about the whole falling out of the sky and then aligning that with Money in the Bank?
I didn't make that connection until you just said it now, but that would make sense. And it would help sell tickets in Saudi Arabia, wouldn't it?
Sure as shit would if you're getting that match for night 1. Yeah. Bet your ass it would.
If you were also selling tickets is what I meant.
Oh, right. So, yeah, they don't need... Well, it'll get attention on the show. It would make people watch something they might otherwise protest. Because you got to see that match. You know?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know, like, do we want Cody to go a whole nother year as champion?
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't need to. He can drop it and win it back, which is what should have happened with Drew McIntyre this year. I mean, it did, technically. But he should have lost it at WrestlePalooza, then gone 4 or 5 months chasing, and then won it back at the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania, as opposed to winning it back, what was it, after Elimination Chamber? It was so stupid.
So maybe Cody loses it beforehand, wins it back at SummerSlam, then Punk wins Money in the Bank and challenges him.
He should probably lose it to Randy Orton.
It's kind of repeating the same thing, but
it is.
It
but
makes sense.
He should probably lose it to Randy Orton sometime soon. He doesn't have to be the one to win it back from Orton. We can have more than 2 title changes in a year. So I'd have him lose it to Orton, have someone else beat Randy for the title, then have Cody win it from that person, take it into WrestleMania. Just what I would do. All right, so that was the first part of the main event. The second half, of course, Roman Reigns, who arrived in a black SUV with the World Heavyweight Championship, slowly walking backstage through gorilla position, only to find the Usos there waiting for him, wearing white Raiders jerseys. Now, Vintage, you and I are sports fans. I know WWE was in Las Vegas, and I'm sure they did not want the Usos to get booed. But these guys are hardcore San Francisco 49ers fans. That is total sacrilege and completely unacceptable as far as I am concerned. At least when John Cena wore the Yankees jersey and hat, he was a heel cutting down his Red Sox. If you are a 49ers fan, you should not be out there in Raiders jerseys, true or false.
True, but my only other thought was the Raiders jersey is so generic that, you know, people who may not know may not notice it's that specific. But in general, yes, I agree.
Sports fans are the ones who would know, and they're the ones who should be bothered by that, right? Like, yes. Would you ever wear maize and blue?
No, but that's also a distinctive color set. If it was a Penn State jersey, you know, that's kind of it's just a generic blue and white football jersey. So that's all I mean. But I agree with the point.
Okay. Anyway, I digress. Reigns was about to enter the arena, but he stopped at the curtain, turned around, and nodded to his cousins, who smiled and joined him out to the ring with the original Tribal Chief theme that he used to enter WrestleMania, playing the one that you and I both prefer. Roman said he was prepared to speak about the future of the business and the championship, but seeing his cousins, he wanted to handle some family business first. And Silver King got to the edge of his seat with his ears perked up. Oh, we're going to handle some family business, Roman, finally? Can't wait. He said he missed them. He missed having their trust, their love, their admiration, doing business together. Reigns said they are weak and susceptible apart, pointing to how Jey Uso main evented WrestleMania last year, which he didn't, yet had a washed-up rapper talking shit to him this year on the road to WrestleMania, which did happen. He said they are more powerful and untouchable together, but he's not asking the Usos to serve him. He wants them to stand with him as his blood. Jimmy grabbed the mic, called Roman the OTC and their tribal chief. He said, "We're the ones." Stood right next to him, raised his finger. Jay did the same. Roman was about to do so as well, when exactly what I hoped would happen in the moment indeed happened. Jacob Fatu interrupted. So Roman assumed he was there to acknowledge him. Fatu declined, saying he doesn't want but needs the world title. He said he's not trying to be the tribal chief, but he does want what Reigns has. The shoe deal, the private jets, the Rolex, more vehicles. I laughed when he said more vehicles. I thought it was very funny. A bigger house, the money to take care of his children and take care of his family, even if that requires him to go through his family to do it. Crowd loved this. Jacob challenged Roman for backlash, and he got big Fatu chants. Reigns said he wants all of that for Jacob, but he questioned if he can beat him, can he handle the burden of being champion? And if he can't beat him, can he handle acknowledging Reigns as the tribal chief? Roman did not accept the challenge right away. He said he would give Fatu 1 week to decide whether he can come to grips with that reality and those terms. I'm super mixed about this direction. Starting with the bloodline reformation. This was another opportunity. You guys know what I'm going to say. This was another opportunity for Reigns to show contrition, offer an apology, recognize his past mistakes. Yet he basically did none of that. Yeah, he mentioned he didn't want to rule over them this time, but that's hardly an admission of anything. Plus, the Usos had zero agency here. Jay is kind of nodding along, though he did give a side eye. Jimmy immediately agrees he's all in. When he raised his mic, I thought Jimmy was going to tell Reigns, no, man, you got to be contrite first.
No.
They were so weak-minded as characters, they just fell right in line. Fans were into them reuniting, sure, no doubt. But it kind of feels old hat at this point, even if they are baby faces. Had they not come back together for Survivor Series twice, this would have been a lot fresher. Instead, it was kind of like, again? Jacob showing up was unexpected before the segment went the direction it did. And coming off of beating Drew McIntyre, he certainly belongs in the main event. But considering he never got a clean match with Cody, and the dude is on SmackDown, or at least was, why is he not going after that title, especially when Rhodes is clearly injured? Why, if he is not disrespecting Reigns as tribal chief, which he said he was not, why is he going after family instead? Why should he have to take from Roman things that he could have by winning the WWE Championship, the premier title in the entire business? So the positives are that, again, the fans were into all of this, and Fatu probably cut his best live promo on the main roster. Far better than what we've seen on SmackDown. I also believe this match is going to be great at Backlash. And it's nice that Roman is wrestling on that show. It is close to his home in Tampa. But if Fatu moves to Raw, how do they proceed if Reigns retains? So yeah, I had a lot more questions than answers, and more questions than even solid opinions coming out of this segment, both in terms of what they're doing with Reigns and now what they're doing with Fatu. It's only one show, so there's no reason to cast huge dispersions when this is just the beginning of the storyline. Maybe it's going to be explained with Jay and the Usos why they did this, how they feel, or maybe it's not, and they're just back in line and that's it. This is definitely going to be a star-making opportunity for Jacob. That is the absolute minimum, and I did very much enjoy the segment, but clearly it left me questioning a lot of it.
I was mixed on it, but for completely different reasons.
Interesting.
Your wish for some Roman apology to Jay or whatever, it's not happening. It's done. Like, they're back. They've reunited twice now without this happening. So you just drop it because it ain't gonna happen.
Well,
it's
a hanging out there, bro.
on that.
I'm sorry, it's hanging out there. It's a plot hole as far as I'm concerned.
Is it? It seems like they've all moved on.
I haven't, and a lot of the audience hasn't either.
I'm saying Jay and Jimmy have.
Maybe, yeah, sure.
But I was actually, what I wanted more out of this was more of the family talk. Like, we know they're in the same family, but I was hoping for them to kind of do that a bit more. Call him he's the cousin of the Usos, is that right?
Jacob is the first cousin of the Usos and first cousin once removed of Roman.
Okay, yeah. So I was expecting maybe to go into that a bit more, of just like call him cuz, or talk about backstory between them when we were always doing this. And there is time to do this, but not a ton of time, because there's only 3 weeks to Backlash. So It's not like they're going to have time to build a big story. And these guys have an incredible history together. Are we going to get into that? Are we going to get into what did the family think when Jacob was in jail? Not that we need to always bring up the jail storyline, but just lean into the family side of it a bit more than just, we're family, I want what you want, let's have a match. Mm-hmm. And there's still time to get to that for sure. But I came out of it thinking, like, man, these guys are so incredibly connected, especially with the Usos. Like, I want to get right into that, because there's so much you could tell, and they kind of only just scratch the surface.
It's fair for me that the first confrontation is like a shocker, and it's like, oh, like they don't need to explain their relationship to us when they are already related. And
I think
Jacob's invading his space basically here in this second.
Like, Jacob has the same last name as the actual Usos. Mm-hmm. Like, so I do think sometimes the tree can get confusing. And we knew Solo was their younger brother, and they really kind of hammered on that. So just like, I think to start, kind of just reminding everybody of their relationship is, I think, is important, because Solo led the previous bloodline, but he added so many people who weren't actually in the bloodline that we maybe kind of, some people might have forgotten where exactly Jacob is in relation to them. Yeah,
he certainly could have said, look, y'all my cousins, but, and then just continued and said that. Like, I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I am saying is, because it was just the first segment and it was supposed to be the shock and surprise to everyone involved, him not like laying out, this is our relationship, for me is okay. But it really should be, to your point, specified over the next couple of weeks leading into Backlash. They really need to get into how the family works, whose brother is who, and how they are related. It should at least be part of it, so that we, as viewers, understand it a little bit better. My hope with this,
and just connect to them, and just connect to them more. Like, everybody's got cousins. Like,
of course,
lean into that relationship that everybody can relate
But they're not. I mean, they're not second, third cousins. They're literal first cousins, and then first cousins once removed. Like, they're close. They actually hung out together as kids and stuff. So, and they all know each other extremely well. And yes, Reigns is kind of, because he's older than the rest of them, he's kind of a little bit more of a cousin uncle, but he is a cousin. I mean, it's very straightforward, clear, not even a question in that regard. My hope with this bloodline reunion is, because we need to project out all the opponents that Reigns is going to have. Clearly, Jacob's going to be one. You and I both, I believe, on the Night 2 instant analysis, pontificated Gunther as an opponent for Clash in Italy. That makes a lot of sense. Certainly, we think or hope at some point Femi down the line will be an opponent. But there's a lot of shows, man. And I hope this does lead to Roman Jay for the title at some point. Jay can't stand being in his cousin's shadow because he's had a taste of the gold, and Reigns is literally holding the championship that he won before Roman. It doesn't have to be a turn or even a split. It just needs to be something that atones for everything I spoke about a moment ago. In this moment, look, they came off like bitches, and it's kind of tough to say otherwise. If Jay shows some gumption and says, hey, I want a shot at that title, you're giving it to Jacob, why don't I get one? To me, that would make a lot of sense.
And more than that, I want them going back for the tag team titles. They got screwed over by ISO Speed, and then they won at WrestleMania. Like, they should be wanting those titles back.
They should be, and Reigns should have said something in this promo, too, about, you guys are going to get those titles again, and we're going to dominate Raw like we used to dominate SmackDown. Like, probably should have said something.
Like, they're never going to actually create the bloodline and restore the feeling of what it was during that period, because you can't. Nobody can perfectly create that. So as long as it's not kind of a weak repeat and think if we just go through the motions, people will think it's the same. Oh, well, let's get all the gold. Let's run it back, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they kind of change expectations, but as of right now, they haven't.
Look, peak Bloodline was Sami Zayn and Paul Heyman. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get those, okay? And Solo Sikoa, obviously, for a period of time, was solid with them as well, but I wouldn't call that peak. So, no, we're never going to get that. And we've seen this before in professional wrestling. You bring back the NWO years after it ended, D-Generation X, even when it's the same people involved. It's just never the same. Not when it's at its height. So this can't be that. This has to be, it's okay that they're back together. I'm not against it in theory. They got to figure out some fresh ways to move it forward. And it's simply being on Monday nights on a red brand instead of Friday nights on a blue brand. And outside of the pandemic, that's not going to be enough. You're going to have to do more than that. Before we move on to the next segment, as an overall evaluation, Raw after WrestleMania, I thought, Chris, was a damn good show. It paled in comparison to last year, but the 2025 edition was probably one of the best post-WrestleMania Raws of all time. So living up to last year was an impossible bar to reach, especially when there was not a huge storyline coming into the show like last year when Seth Rollins aligned with Paul Heyman. It more than got the job done, and most importantly, there was a real nice mix of fresh feuds, storyline continuations, returns, call-ups, and the show moved at a real brisk pace. It also did exceed 2.5 hours, not by much. I think it only went 8 minutes over, but they gave us a little bit more. So overall, if last year's Raw after WrestleMania was like a 9 out of 10, I got to say, I was 7.5, 8 out of 10. This was a real strong episode of TV.
Yeah, really good show. They got into the wrestling pretty quickly. They leaned on the wrestling for this show, which I think is a
women's
response
wrestling
to kind of the feelings,
especially.
Yes, especially the women's wrestling, especially, and just again when you see both rosters interact and throw some NXT people in there as well, it reminds you just how absolutely loaded this roster is, top to bottom. It's just split in half. Seeing Cody and Punk again, seeing Rhea walk by Liv briefly backstage, like there was just a lot of like, man, like if you were to ever to just put it back together into one roster on two shows, you'd realize how stacked it is, and you'd also remember why it's split up in the first place.
Right, because those people wouldn't be able to get TV time. We complain already about people not getting featured. If you don't have a roster split, there's people getting completely off television for months at a time, most likely, because they're not involved in major storylines. All right, that wraps up the main event. Before we move on, though, Silver King does need to remind you here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well. For $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up, you'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Please support us, subscribe, allow us to keep the lights on as we continue delivering performance-enhancing audio into your ear holes, and get some extra content too. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. All right, with the main event in the rear view mirror, let's break down everything else that happened on the Raw after WrestleMania and some stragglers from the SmackDown before WrestleMania by tackling the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says
One more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Femi opened Raw, which is exactly what the fans wanted. They were literally chanting for his name moments before his music hit. He looked great in suit pants and a vest as he got loudly serenaded by the entire arena and then received Oba Femi chants as a chaser. Femi simply said, "The ruler has arrived," spiked the mic. He got another series of chants and cheers walking out. WWE loves doing segments like this to open the Raw after WrestleMania. We have seen so many examples before. I wanted more, of course, but it more than got the job done to present him as the next big thing, even if Michael Cole did not use that label Monday night like he did twice on Sunday, but he maintained his momentum without having to go into a major program right away. It was also a really fun reference to Roman Reigns' "This is my yard now," just a completely different vibe. Seeing the audience eating out of the palm of a guy's hand who debuted on the main roster 4 months earlier is absolutely insane and obvious good.
I mean, I guess it's a good because it's not a bad, but I didn't care for this at all. Like it did nothing. It's one thing to do the stand out there, say something and spike. Like they always want to recreate Roman Reigns the night after he, quote unquote, retired the Undertaker.
This is my yard now.
And puts it down. They always want to try to recreate that with every opening to Raw after Mania, but like I don't feel like you can't do that after a short match. Like it's like we still don't know unless you watch some of the videos and stuff that they put on social or on the pre-show. Like if you're just watching the TV show in the main card, you don't know anything about Oba Femi yet. Like they put together a really good video on his time at Alabama and all this stuff, but I guarantee a lot of people didn't see that. And I would have loved for Oba, who we know is very good on the mic, to talk about what this means, talk about what he has planned next. And instead it was just a repeat of the day before, which was just something short and sweet, and everybody tell you how great he is because he did something very short and sweet. That's fine, but we know he can do more. And I just would have liked more.
It's fair. I'm not going to disagree with that. Io Sky and Rhea Ripley fought the Kabuki Warriors. Asuka led a pre-tape promo admonishing Io for again choosing Rhea over her actual family and her own success in WWE, and for trying to corrupt Kairi Sane while doing so. For a second, I thought they were about to do the one-on-one on Raw, but we luckily got a tag team match instead. It would have been appropriate if Asuka pointed out that Io's focus on Rhea caused her to miss WrestleMania entirely. She said something along those lines last week and could have doubled down here. It felt like this being the first match on the Raw after WrestleMania, as I said a moment ago, was an acknowledgement of the women not getting enough time on WrestleMania itself. Asuka led a great distraction that turned momentum, allowed Sane to land an awesome insane elbow off the top rope ringside on Ripley. Seriously, one of her best ever. Io appropriately got the hot tag and a huge pop. She dominated both Warriors simultaneously. Ripley tagged in for a Razor's Edge missile dropkick combination with Sky mocking Asuka, waving at her while she was up in the air. That was really fun. Kairi blind tagged for a neck breaker off of an Asuka codebreaker. Io took another nasty header on a tope suicida when Kairi accidentally flung her out of the ring and into Asuka. Rio then combined for Riptide and over the moonsault on Sane to win in nearly 12 minutes. Rhea immediately checked on Io after the bell, just given the bump she took. Excellent match, the obvious booking to put the faces over, coming off Ripley's win, and Sky needing to get revenge on Sane for the singles loss last week. This was longer than every single women's match at WrestleMania, though, of course, it did have a commercial in the middle, but it was also better than every single women's match at WrestleMania. These four work extremely well together. It would have been nice to do this match coming off Io and Asuka in singles, so both of them win. Then you get the tag team match and you completely end the feud. That's what Silver King would have done. I don't know how WWE is going to progress this from here, but this was a great opener to the show. 4 stars, A-, good.
Yeah, this was as much of an attempt at a make good as you could do. And it was maybe the one benefit of Oba going really short, was that we just immediately went right into this and we gave them time. And it was not an accident, I don't think, to start with this, to be the first match, to be within the first, 10 minutes or so of the show.
Right away.
So that was good. Really good stuff. That elbow from Kairi was literally insane. And I liked Cole explaining at the beginning the relationship between Asuka and Io. just like a good like explanation that's not them doing it either in Japanese with subtitles or they're kind of broken English. So like kind of reestablish that relationship for those who maybe forgot it or don't know, and do the tag match and clearly setting that up down the road again.
Indeed. Liv Morgan led Judgment Day out for a championship celebration. She got roundly booed, which somehow turned into "you deserve it" chants after all the booing. Liv did her normal shtick before thanking all of Judgment Day for their support, and then thanking Stephanie Vaquer, who reminded her that she is the most talented woman in WWE after their knockdown, drag-out feud that ended in an 8-minute match at WrestleMania. Morgan said if fans thought she was messy and trouble before, just wait. Sol Ruca interrupted, getting a tremendous ovation. She called Liv an inspiration and said she learned that she was the top woman in the division at the Battle Royal. Sol, do you mean at the Royal Rumble? Morgan said Ruca had nerve interrupting her, but since she was complimentary, she'd nicely say that she doesn't measure up, and if she's smart, she'll leave the ring before she gets hurt. Sol said she didn't come out there to fight, but she also won't back down. Adam Pearce came out and got booed, but he calmed all the fans down, brought out Jessica Carr, and set the match on the spot. Liv's presence was so commanding in her promo. It's crazy how fully formed she has become as a performer, superstar, and champion. Love to see it considering how much progress she has made over the last couple of years. Similar situation here to Stephanie Vaquer confronting Io Sky on last year's Raw after WrestleMania. The difference is that Vaquer was ready for the main roster. Ruca is not, as evidenced by her promo. I have said so many times on our NXT show that she has not been given the appropriate reps on the mic to carry herself on the main roster. Furthermore, adding her to the Raw roster potentially would be absurd when SmackDown is so badly in need of top-level female talent. Absurd. Stephanie last year held the NXT title for another month before fully moving over to Raw after she made her debut. My hope after this was that WWE was just featuring Sol and not fully calling her up. Now, Michael Cole said after the commercial break that she was called up in part of Raw. But considering how often Cole gets stuff wrong, I'm holding out hope that's not the case. Ruca needs months in NXT, not weeks, and it would have spoiled the Zarya match set for NXT on Tuesday if she is called up, and that did happen a bit later in the show. As a segment, just this, largely due to Liv and the Sol surprise, this was good, but it did leave me seriously concerned about Sol.
Yes, I'm not as familiar with her as much in NXT, obviously, as you are, but I know that has been a concern for a while. She's already done some main roster stuff. She did some tag team stuff. She did the Bayley match at Saturday Night's Main Event. So, like, we know she can go. And it's not to say people can't learn how to do the mic on the main roster. Literally, we saw it with Liv Morgan over the years.
Right.
But you would think you'd want to have that ready because Sol Ruca has what you think will be a superstar level thing. So kind of make sure she's kind of got that set before you go. Like, we know Femi can talk, and he delivered a great promo before the Brock match. Can Sol do that yet? I don't think so. And we can't do this every time. We're not going to do this every time she appears, and she's not going to be she's not part of the competition, but hey now for her outfit as well, which I know is just her gear, but for what it's worth.
They look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
Regarding the Liv comparison, just since you made it, Liv has been on the main roster, or been in WWE, I should say, for 10 years now. And she just figured it out a couple years ago, how to cut promos and be a full-fledged character. That is my concern with Ruca. They are rushing her up when they do not need her there right now. And I will confirm, I was just scrolling something while you were talking. Sol is saying herself that she has been called up and found out that she was going to be on Raw literally Monday. So they called her up before her potential final match with Zarya on Tuesday night on NXT, Last Woman Standing, after Sol won their first match unnecessarily on the Premium Live event. And again, a woman who probably shouldn't be on the main roster yet and probably should be on SmackDown. So the decision-making here completely floors me, but let's get to the match. We had Morgan against Ruca, non-title. Sol impressed with some presence of mind early and her step-off moonsault from the ring post outside into the break. She continued dominating out of the commercial until Liv caught her flying with an anti-air code breaker. Sol completely flipped out of an Oblivion attempt, immediately jumping into the corner for a Soul Snatcher, but Liv had the presence of mind to roll away for a cover outside. Ruca took out Judgment Day with Sasuke Special, only for Zarya to spawn out of nowhere, charge Sol, throw Ruka into the ring post, and hit a ringside spinebuster as the referee checked on Morgan. She got heat, but nowhere near as much as I would have loved. She beat the count. Soul did it 9.2. Liv immediately caught her standing with Oblivion to get the win. Despite my dissatisfaction with Soul getting called up before I believe she's fully ready as a complete wrestler, and let me be clear, I say that only wanting what is best for her in the long term because I believe her ceiling legitimately is Jeff Hardy. But holy shit, did she put on a showcase in this match. Lots of credit to Liv for selling for her, especially as a brand new world champion in her first match after WrestleMania. Ruka could not have done better bell to bell. This was undoubtedly a superstar making moment on a massive stage for her, despite my objections. And while the booking with Zarya was extremely predictable, it accomplished everything necessary for both parties. Another 4 stars, A-, and another good.
Yep, really good match, as kind of I would have expected between these two. I didn't know about the Zarya match like coming this week, so when that interference happened, I was like, oh, huh. I didn't put it together, but no, this was good. We know Soul can go, and she did.
Yeah, Liv sold the hell out of that Soul Snatcher, by the way. Just fantastic work by both of them. As Morgan and Judgment Day were celebrating down the ramp, Fakir's entrance hit. Her pyro scared all 3 of them, which is really funny. Liv nevertheless turned back, got in Stephanie's face, and held up the title as the confrontation ended. I'm glad WWE is not moving away from this, considering how shortchanged they got at WrestleMania, running this again at Backlash, and giving them actual time, 15 to 20 minutes. That is the move as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, completely agree.
Rhea and Io later had an emotional moment backstage saying it's not goodbye forever, but Ripley does need to be the champion that SmackDown needs, while Sky can take care of herself on Raw. They hugged and went in different directions before Ripley passed by Morgan laying on a road case. She said something that got drowned out by the crowd before a stare down, and they kind of split, basically saying, hey, I'll see you again in the future. Glad we got one more Rio match at least before the split across brands became more permanent. And the Rhea Liv stare down, that was a little fun callback to their feud. To your point, it really showcased how strong this WWE women's division is. And that's one of the reasons why we were so frustrated at WrestleMania, specifically night 1, but also to a lesser degree night 2. They got 10 minutes. That was okay. But really night 1, them getting, 18 combined minutes for 3 matches was ridiculous. This was a short little bit backstage, but I'm going to give it a good also. I liked the emotion between Rhea and Io. I love seeing Ripley as a real person and not the strong, dominant mommy character that always has to be a badass and can't show another side of herself.
Yes, that was good. And they already kind of had the goodbye previously. And technically we know Io can just show up on SmackDown to save Rhea if she wants, because she's done that. So that continuity is a little mixed, but it was good to do that. Acknowledge it, yes, because she's the champ. She is staying over there. And again, leaves Io on her own to deal with Asuka. And I like the Rhea Liv that Rhea Liv where they just like cross each other backstage, whatever, like, that is, I want to get back to having more of that stuff, of just people crossing each other backstage. Remember when CM Punk showed up, when he came back, him and Kevin Owens went face-to-face backstage briefly, and we're like, oh
wow.
And like, they've never gotten back to that. But like, there's a lot, especially on these shows after pay-per-views where you do have everybody in town, do more of those little teases of like, we might actually get to see that at some point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I give allowances for Road to WrestleMania when you talk about crossovers. This did seem more definitive in terms of a split. Like, we're not going to cross over shows, but of course, we will see what happens. Finn Balor fought JD McDonough. Balor got a promo package saying that the Demon putting Dominic Mysterio down did not end his issues with Judgment Day because he expected Dom to betray him. He never would have thought JD would do the same. He discussed their extensive history, how he brought JD into Judgment Day to be his ally, and how that betrayal has him ready to take McDonough out of the business, just as he brought him into it. McDonough replied, saying Balor turned his back on him by talking down to the group like a leader when they weren't supposed to have one and listening to Punk over them. JD said turning on him after 20 years was easy. He would do it again, and the Finn everyone loved is dead. Well, that Finn that everyone loved was Finn Balor, who got his ass kicked all the time and barely won 2 matches in 2 years. Let's see what happened with the new Finn. Balor and McDonough fought into the crowd immediately, with JD getting a bobblehead chant, which was pretty funny. Finn's mouth got busted open hard way more blood than you normally see. McDonough scouted and avoided a shotgun dropkick, landing a huge headbutt, literally. Balor countered a moonsault with double boots straight in the air, though, hitting a shotgun dropkick and coup de grace to get the win. Dom attacked from behind after the bell, but Finn got up on him before JD saved Dom from a coup de grace. Great work between Finn and JD. It did not feel like the match between them, which is what I expected, considering their history, their comfort with one another, and the pre-match promos that set this match up like it was going to be an epic of some kind. They didn't deliver to that end, but maybe they're saving that because, look, Balor's not retiring anytime soon, so they could do that later this year or next year, whenever there's a title on the line, whatever the case might be. At least pin Balor, that old guy JD was talking about, he's dead. Long live win Balor. Good.
Definite good. Finn, I couldn't notice this with the demon entrance, but he's back to the short beard again, and that makes him look so much younger and babyface, frankly, like literally a babyface. So look good. Good that he got the old entrance again, with the fan. The fans still do it. The fans still know the cues for his entrance, and it was always looked so good. So I'm glad they're doing that. And good vignettes, good match. Could it have been more? Yes. But I think given this is not an insult to JD McDonough, but he's very low on the totem pole.
Yeah.
And we've never been given a reason to kind of like take him seriously. And so doing this on the back end of Finn Dom, which is in the WWE pecking order, the bigger match,
For sure.
is a good follow-up to give Finn another win, to give him another win over the Judgment Day people. And maybe this means he's fully moving on now. Finn JD could be a great deep story, but they haven't really told you enough to take JD seriously enough that it kind of warrants that.
That's totally fair. To your point about Balor's beard. So I noticed he was fresh-faced on Raw, right? And I was doing the second watch of WrestleMania. He had the beard, more full version, under the demon paint. But he certainly couldn't have the full beard under the demon paint because it wouldn't have worked, right? So he trimmed it significantly. My just guess, and I could be wrong, is when he was taking that paint off, it was sticking in the beard and shit, and he goes, all right, enough of this. And he got rid of it. I'm not saying that it will come back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he just got rid of it because of that, and it does come back over time because the paint just messes him up. And anyone who's ever painted their face or gotten paint in their hair, you know how that is.
Yes, and one thing for earlier, while we're talking entrances, I just forgot to mention this. Roman came out to the old head of the table theme with the Usos, but he left to the new theme again. So I don't know if they just hit the wrong button or what, but
Raw?
When they closed the show, they played the newer version. So I hope that was just a missed push.
Well, you know what?
The piano version.
I care about it a lot more upon entrance than exit. Upon exit, do whatever the hell you want, really. Like, it doesn't really matter that much. Entrance is what matters.
Agree. When I heard it, I wondered if we were going to go back, and I hope we don't.
Well, it's possible they're doing split. I believe Triple H did that for a long time. He had two different themes, and they would play one when he came down to the ring for a promo, a different one when he came down to the ring for a match. And I think even when he would do the match, when he left, he would exit to the other one. So
maybe like King of Kings was Triple H's heel and authority theme, while the game was the babyface one.
Yeah, but there was also another theme in there. I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. We can talk about it another week because the show. There
was the My Time one.
It was
the late 90s.
It was a different one that he used alongside, I want to say, the game, like later in that run. But again, we'll cover this another day. We have a lot more to cover. Brock Lesnar got a career retrospective video package that I believe was set to Godsmack. Extremely well done as usual. Loved the finishing sequence, flashing all of his success at the collegiate UFC and WWE ranks. I expected that we were going to see him on the show after that, and he was indeed advertised for Raw initially. We never did. He did not show up. That was surprising to a degree. He was spoken about shortly afterward, but I could have sworn we were going to see Lesnar on Monday night.
I thought we were too. Now, I still don't buy this as a retirement, but yeah, I was surprised we didn't get him.
The Vision sans Braun Breaker entered with Paul Heyman. Heyman said WrestleMania is always about expecting the unexpected before getting choked up, referring to Lesnar's retirement being unexpected. He ranted at WWE production for not adjusting the introduction of the show, saying they still have Lesnar listed in the now section when he needs to be in the forever section because he's the baddest MFer in WWE history. That was Heyman at his absolute best. He said the Vision are authoring a resurgence of the tag team division. He gave the mic to Logan Paul, who got bathed in Dominic Mysterio level heat, fighting through it, trying to blame IShowSpeed for the loss. He ironically ranted about outsiders, YouTube streamers invading their business before handing the mic back to Heyman, who said, yes, Gunther did me a magnificent favor. And yes, I do owe him one. Breaker entered after that, getting an updated entrance with a smoke-filled backing. Looked great. Definitely needed a pyro exclamation point. Braun recalled debuting a year ago on the same show in the same arena, saying he was immediately the leader of the Vision, and he was proud that he ruined Seth Rollins' potential win at WrestleMania. Breaker promised he would make Rollins' life miserable from this day forward. Seth's music hit, but he's surprised with a Shield chair shot from behind, except he didn't hit him in the back. I mean, he did somewhat, but he clipped Breaker's head. Absolutely gnarly shot. Logan and Austin Theory immediately took him down before the Street Profits made their long-awaited return shirtless to save. They chased the champions through the crowd as Breaker got back in the ring, blood all over and around his head, nasty cut on the back. Rollins prevented a spear with a super kick, but Braun avoided the stomp, hit a short-range spear. He grabbed Seth's head, screamed that he would ruin his legacy, and then he hit a triple rope run spear. The blood was unintentional. It made him look like an absolute madman, and it really allowed his devastation to sing because of the way he looked after laying Rollins out. My only issue with this segment is that it was way, way too long. It was basically 3 segments in one, and by the time it was over, despite a great Breaker Rollins quick brawl, the crowd was kind of dead, having already been booing, cheering, and screaming for like 10 minutes straight. Lots was accomplished here, though, in order. Heyman doing an incredible job making fans feel the finality and emotion behind Lesnar's retirement. Logan getting more heat than I ever could have expected, juicing up the titles a little bit too. Breaker getting solid time on the mic, even if he was a bit rough in his content and delivery. Rollins being put in the heroic yet dumb babyface spot. The Profits receiving an awesome reaction for their return. Braun coming out of it looking like a total badass, helped by the blood. While this may not have been an indication of anything in reality, in my mind, the Profits helping Rollins lent credence to my belief that the original booking was Theory as a mole in the Vision, and at least Montez Ford, if not both of them, being part of a babyface version of the Vision that would have feuded with the heels. Will be a question worth asking one day for sure. I don't know how much there is to analyze from this otherwise, but the reactions for everyone were impressive, and it was nice to get the Profits back with the Vision picking up where it left off. Good.
Yep, good. Good to see the Profits back. They look great. Everything about this was executed extremely well. My guess is Heyman did the Brock stuff because Brock wasn't going to be out there. And maybe they had thought he was or whatever happened. But suddenly Heyman had to account for Brock. Maybe Brock was supposed to be out there with Heyman and whatever, but he wasn't. So Heyman, he kind of had to squeeze it all into one. I agree. It did make it a long segment. But moving forward, good stuff.
Heyman did also say something about Punk during this, but I have a note here that he did. I didn't go back to remember what he said. It couldn't have been that important, or else I would have remembered to do so. But if you do remember, I mentioned about 10 weeks ago how Ford looked surprisingly out of shape during that NXT live show appearance. Clearly, we were right in our assumption that he was bulking ahead of a cut, because this dude was absolutely shredded on Monday night, and Angelo Dawkins looked perhaps not his absolute peak best physically, but pretty damn close. I hate that they were out for so long with Bianca Belair's pregnancy and Dawkins' significant other, I believe, was not only pregnant, but gave birth, and WrestleMania coming up. It made sense to, I guess, just save them for this moment. And thankfully, they are out of the hell that is SmackDown and that tag team division. You have 2 of the best teams in the company now on Raw. The opportunity to add more, we'll have to see how that shakes out.
Yes, let's rebuild some tag teams here. Let's do it.
Gunther backstage was proud of himself for getting over Rollins at WrestleMania and proving himself right. He reiterated that he has no relationship with Heyman other than Paul owing him a very big favor. Gunther said regarding his future, all anyone needs to concern themselves with is how soon he will be World Heavyweight Champion. LA Knight confronted, reminding that he's focused on the same goal, and unlike Gunther, he didn't need any help to win at Mania. Unexpected, kind of fun pairing between these two guys. It's definitely fresh. We all know Gunther's going to win that feud, and people will be upset that Knight is not getting a world title shot. But you know what? For TV stuff, to bring some personality out of Gunther and get Knight involved in something important, I'm into this. Good.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. The IC title is kind of doing its own thing. So where are you going to put LA Knight? Put him with Gunther, who's one of the biggest heels in the company. So I'm looking forward to it. Good.
Now, Vintage had to bounce for a bit because he is on site at a college football event. Silver King is going to take us the rest of the way just with the good, the bad, and the ugly, but Vintage will return for the final segment of today's show, and we don't have that much good, bad, and ugly left anyway, so it's really not that big of a deal. Pierce put over Penta backstage for retaining his title out of the ladder match. Javon Evans interrupted to get real with Penta, respecting his win, but informing him that he's going to be the champion soon one way or another. Penta said his title isn't moving off his shoulder. Ethan Page got a huge pop entering the scene as the newest Raw superstar, saying he was going after the strap and wouldn't let Evans stand in his way. So Pierce obviously made the match. Absolutely floored that Ethan Page is not on SmackDown with Chelsea Green, The Miz, and some of those other characters with whom he would work incredibly. Cannot understand that decision-making. We'll have to see who gets added over to the SmackDown side on Friday. So we had Evans against Page. Javon hit an awesome kip-up stunner shortly after the bell. He wore a shirt during the match for some reason. It looked kind of odd. Evans landed huge topes going into and coming out of the break. Javon followed with a springboard clothesline, only to take a monkey flip off the ropes into a power slam. He reversed Page into the ring post, super kicked him into the Spanish announce table, only for Rusev to try to attack him out of the timekeeper's area. Evans allowed himself to get distracted by splashing Rusev. That gave Page enough time to trip him during an OG cutter attempt. And when he fell, hit Twisted Grin for the victory. Rusev attacked Evans after the bell, only for Penta to stop an Accolade submission. As Penta was getting up on Rusev, Page tripped him off the ropes, giving Rusev an opening for Machka kick and the Accolade on the IC champion. This was the perfect debut match for Ethan, considering he and Javon had familiarity from and obviously tremendous chemistry in NXT. Page had to win in his first match, and utilizing Rusev, given his elimination at WrestleMania, as the method for an excused loss was really smart. Rusev got legitimate heat, looked like a real contender for the championship, especially when he put it over his shoulder. The faces all got sympathy. All of it worked. 3.75 stars, B+ for the match, and easy good for the segment and the division. I do wish Page's introduction was more as a surprise opponent, but it hardly mattered, and doing it backstage, it probably allowed him to show a little bit of character too, so that's most likely why they did it. Since this was our final notable segment from Raw, perhaps it's worth looking at how the roster shifted Monday night. Raw added Ethan Page and seemingly Sol Ruca and Joe Hendry from NXT, along with Jacob Fatu and the Street Profits from SmackDown. That's after getting Oba Femi and Javon Evans randomly earlier this year. We know Rhea Ripley is on SmackDown permanently now, but it's going to be intriguing to see who else gets added over there on Friday night, because after Monday, it felt like the roster was even more unbalanced than it was already. Punk going over to SmackDown, that would be interesting and refreshing. Maybe that's going to be the key move in a trade with Fatu, but we are going to have to see. Royce Keys received a follow-up video package from his TV debut on SmackDown. This one focused on him twice legitimately getting emotional while talking about the loss of his mother. Mark Henry put him over. His sister called him Will, and Royce said that he just hopes his mom is proud of him. It was clear that he was going to be the featured party in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. So that match was next on SmackDown. Besides Keys, the other notable competitors were Joe Hendry, surprising as the last entrant, Ilya Dragunov, Rey Fenix, Shinsuke Nakamura, Aleister Black, both El Grande Americanos, Shiloh Hill from NXT randomly, and Johnny Gargano planking from even before the bell. Kit Wilson got eliminated by tripping over Gargano. Johnny wore black, just like Motor City Machine Guns. Los Garza had a really fun elimination of La Parka. Gargano hit one final beat to eliminate Axiom. Black took out Hendry, Nakamura, and Dragunov among a match-high 4 eliminations. Tala Tonga murked Phoenix with a chokeslam onto the ring apron. What is with SmackDown booking and Tala Tonga kicking the shit out of Rey Fenix? Why does this keep happening?
So dumb.
Otis got some surprise eliminations, leaving him with Black, Tala, and Keys.
4 big men slapping meat equals excitement.
Keys overpowered Black out of the ring, leaving only powerhouses left. Tala easy eliminated Otis before Keys countered into his spinebuster and got the win. Seemed to get a great reaction for winning, but the crowd was terrible from an audio standpoint on Friday. Predictable but correct winner. Match was decent. Nothing even a bit memorable. I'm glad Black got a bunch of eliminations, but this was more of an Otis showcase than a Keys showcase, which did not make a shred of sense. Why not have the guy who you are featuring go crazy eliminating people if you're trying to put him over as dominant? He got 2 eliminations. Black got 4. Otis was the showcase. I'm going to give it a light good because there was nothing inherently wrong with it, but it definitely could have been booked better. Keys also got an in the crowd moment on the Raw after WrestleMania, but barely received a reaction. I believe that's because he was not shown on the screen and not put under the spotlight until halfway through the moment. So I'm not going to put too much on the crowd for that. Tiffany Stratton fought Jordynne Grace in a United States title #1 contendership. This was originally announced as Stratton Julia for the title, which made no sense considering Julia beat Tiffy just a couple weeks ago. So then it was switched to this, despite Jordynne not having a TV match in more than 6 weeks. Julia and Kiana James were ringside. Chelsea Green was nowhere to be found. Tiffy was dressed like the human embodiment of the Divas Championship. Grace worked really well during the break. Stratton had a nice counter spike DDT afterward. Jordynne hit a great rolling Death Valley driver, an even better package powerbomb, which should have been the finisher. Tiffy avoided a vertebreaker, hitting a handspring stunner leading into her rolling senton and prettiest moonsault ever for the dub. This was Stratton's best work since returning, undoubtedly because she was against Grace, but she still appears as someone who has regressed massively and needs regular ring time to figure out what the hell is missing. I actually believe she should go back to NXT. She's been working unenthusiastically, where it seems like she's just going through the motions sometimes. The result was obvious given what I mentioned a bit ago, and Jordynne barely being on TV of late, I believe partially due to injury. But when it ended, for me, it was somehow the best part of the first 2 hours of SmackDown and badly needed to be better. Like, I know that's a crazy thing to say, but that is how I felt when it was over. I'm going to give it a light good, almost entirely for Jordynne Grace. Stratton needs to step up, man. We had the Wyatt 6 against MFT in a street fight. The 6 entrance again ended at an unnatural spot rather than the perfect ending note, which is something they had previously established for, I don't know, the better part of a year, yet production keeps doing this. Again, I'm flummoxed.
So dumb.
There were actually multiple cool sequences in this match. Unfortunately, there were also multiple rough sequences. The crowd was mostly dead for it. Not surprising, they've been given no reason to care. Corey Graves gave a Brody Lee shout out during an Eric Rowan Tope Suicida. That was really nice to hear. Sikoa ate a Uranagi into a steel chair before Nikki Cross hit Tonga Loa with a flying crossbody. Tala cleared the house before Tama Tonga broke Sister Abigail on JC Mateo with his crossroads. As he set up for Cutthroat, Sikoa ran in, hit Samoan Spike, stole the win. Total wet fart finish. Woof. Graves called this brutality and one of the damnedest street fights he's ever seen. This shit was slow-paced, mediocre, hardly hardcore, and extremely basic. The only parts that mattered at all were the disagreements between Solo and Tama, which were the two brief bits in the match, and they didn't even move the story further. It was just more of the same. Is this feud over? Why did the Lantern not play a role after all these months focusing on it? This was bad, especially considering it got 2 full segments as the first match of the go-home SmackDown to WrestleMania. It feels like, and I hate to say it because you guys know I do not root for anyone to lose their jobs, Friday night felt like the last time we are going to see anyone in the 6th. There is nowhere for them to go. Solo and Tama remained at odds backstage later. Someone was watching them from the background in the shadows. It was not Aleister Black. I could not tell who it was. Perhaps it was Evil or Hiromu Takahashi from New Japan, who apparently are signing with WWE. That would make some sense. We've talked about them in a Shinsuke Nakamura-led faction of some kind, so it could work. The WWE Tag Team Championships were on the line. R-Truth and Damian Priest defending against New Day. The champions had an odd couple backstage segment with Truth again confusing Danhausen and Asuka, saying he wants to defend against New Day even though Xavier Woods is so sick, he turned Sammy Sosa white and speaks with a British accent, referring, of course, to Australian Grayson Waller. Kofi Kingston and Waller continued their issues by arguing a few times. Commentary was surprised when Priest did the old school crossbody, which he has been doing for the better part of a year. Maybe longer, maybe since last year's WrestleMania. Truth forced Kingston to tag him, then convinced Priest to do stereo 5-knuckle shuffles before they hit a 3D style flatliner as a new finisher to end it. I really like the finishing move. That is my only compliment. Second straight random undeserved title defense for these guys, this time against a team from Raw that hasn't been working together. I'm sure the idea was not to waste the defense against a quality SmackDown team, but since when are the SmackDown teams used at all? This was a go-home for WrestleMania. This booking was mailed in as hell. Bad. WWE promoted Joe Hendry in concert for next week on Raw. Cole immediately clarified that he's on the roster, leaving nothing to the imagination. Hendry is not someone whose debut I was going to get worked up about being spoiled. At the same time, considering he had only worked on SmackDown before, I would have preferred if it was just saved. Not particularly looking forward to Joe on the main roster. Nothing against him. I find the shtick old hat. I thought it was the case a year ago, and now it's on the main roster. So good luck. Danhausen interrupted a vow renewal ceremony between The Miz and Maurice, who, in that wedding dress again,
I was up all night.
it was officiated by Kit Wilson. He said he was the maid of honor, Danhausen did, and then cursed them, leading to The Miz choking him and pushing Danhausen into Maurice, who went face first into a cake. I always appreciate that Maurice is up for a gag, to show up on TV, do something silly and stupid, especially with her husband. It always works, and she's always great. This, however, was very stupid, considering it came out of nowhere and had no relevance to anything else that was happening. I know some of you probably loved it. For me, it was a bad. Not egregious, nothing I'm going to rant about. It was just bad. Danhausen drove out on Raw during a commercial break segment, his truck billowing with so much smoke he had to improv getting off of it. That was clearly not the plan because the dude was wearing shorts. He claimed John Cena passed him the torch at WrestleMania, which meant he's the new GOAT and a Hall of Famer. He was proud of his blimp, which led to a new list of Demandhausens, an animated series serial, and his face on a production truck. This was the best of his TV segments, I'd say, the last 2 weeks, but also it happened almost entirely because of the smoke screw up. It's also going to be funny with Danhausen continuing to make Demandhausens because at some point, WWE is not going to be able to acquiesce anymore. What happens when that's the case? Does he start cursing Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis? Do they start, getting into shit? That'll be interesting. So this was good, at least compared to what happened on SmackDown. And lastly, Los Americanos got a heel commercial break promo segment where they really just wasted time and didn't say anything important. Eventually, El Grande Americano said in a strong heel tone that he would remove original El Grande's mask and bring it back to his home of Mexico to celebrate. The fans cheered him saying that. So it seems like between the appearances on NXT and maybe AAA becoming a little bit more prevalent, that the tide has turned, even in the United States, with everyone supporting this version of Americano. WWE is going to need to pivot its alignment accordingly. As a segment, this was bad. It did not hit at all. There's like 5 weeks until this match happens. Mask versus mask, Mascara versus Mascara in Mexico on May 30th. So I'm going to be extremely curious to see how much they build this on WWE TV and how much they leave it to AAA. Bringing back vintage briefly for the final segment of today's show, having a little fun, of course, and that is the Hey Now Championship. Now, Stephanie Vaquer's revealing catsuit entered WrestleMania as a strong Hey Now champion. Some would say the strongest in history. But there were a variety of contenders over the weekend. As such, for the first time in the title's 4-month history here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, Vaquer will be defending the Hey Now Championship in a gauntlet match. Will she emerge as champion despite losing her Women's World Championship at WrestleMania, or will she succumb to one of her challengers? Let's find out in order. But first,
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
first challenger, Stephanie McMahon at the WWE Hall of Fame and WrestleMania Night 1. It is rare, Chris, to have a legendary challenger who herself would have been a multi-time Hey Now champion back in the day. Not only a somewhat unexpected challenger, but a formidable one with 2 opportunities. And yet, despite being exceedingly impressive, it is Stephanie Vaquer defeating Stephanie McMahon for the Silver King and retaining the Hey Now Championship.
Fair enough. I would go with Stephanie McMahon, but we have to both agree, and we don't.
I need reasoning here, just because of the still got it aspect.
Still got it. Both what she wore on the Hall of Fame and the Saturday show as well, and some of her assets that used to be talked about back in the Attitude Era, or Chris Jericho would like to point out. Still very much got it.
Still on display. I will give credit where it's due. We don't really see her in evening gowns that much. Like even when she does show up on TV or special events, she doesn't really dress like that. So well deserved Hey Now for Stephanie McMahon. The next challenger is Liv Morgan, getting stripped during her WrestleMania entrance, showing off the nude-colored gear for her match. She obviously looked incredible as always, but while it was certainly deserving of a Hey Now, I can't really sit here and tell you it exceeded Vaquer's catsuit, which was absolutely absurd and such a unique look. So for me, I got to say it's Vaquer retaining the title again. What about you?
it's Liv Morgan here, and I have to stand up and say we need to have a title change here. Like it's both what Liv wore, but the way she wore it, what was happening in that entrance, what was happening in the music video. Like, of all the Liv Morgan opportunities, this is going to be right up with her best ever. It's got to be Liv Morgan. We have to have a title change.
I gotta say, I thought this, while it was an incredible look for her, it paled in comparison to some of what we saw from her on Raw when she held the title and had longer reigns. To me, this just...
But it's the way she's using what she's got in that moment. The people around her, what she's like... It's basically going to come down to whenever you're done with the cat suit. It's going to come down to whenever you're done with the cat suit at this point, because I've wanted Vicaire to lose several times, but it hasn't happened. But of all the times, this is the one I'm going to stand up and say, this one I think needs to be a title change.
I'm going to say that the entrance was not that great, even if she looked amazing. So this is what we'll do.
Which is the whole point of the thing.
This is what we'll do. I'll accept the protest, but I'm not necessarily going to change my vote. However, we will post a poll in our Getting Over Slack channel. We have a Hey Now channel. You can join us. Again, the link is in our social media profiles at Getting Overcast. If I get overruled, I'll come up with a percentage, 66%, 75%, whatever the case. If the vote, totals out toward your side, then I will allow the title change and I will remove the rule where both of us need to agree. But coming out of this show, I'm having Vicaire retain over Morgan. I think Liv looked incredible, but that catsuit was special. And I will reiterate, I am not a dude where that normally hits for me. But that's how crazy Stephanie looked. And I feel like you also need to go back and look at that catsuit too, because there's some details to that catsuit, especially on the backside, that really make it sing. But the final challenger here is Roxanne Perez, who had a super cute black skirt outfit on night 2. And she not only looked great, but she's one of my favorites in the entire women's division. However, I feel like people are going crazier for the happenstance camera angle than the actual look and presentation, which is what Hey Now is all about. We're respectful here on the show. As such, I'll let you kind of go first, but I think you know where I'm headed here.
Yes, for me, this is Liv retaining against Roxanne. Roxanne, it wasn't a championship winning performance, but it was a WrestleMania moment.
She looked incredible. She looked incredible on Raw too. They both did. I mean, the thing about the Hey Now championship that everyone needs to understand is it just can't change hands because there's a new flavor of the month. Like, we have to have some champions that actually are established and ensuring that this title gets the legitimacy it deserves. And that is why I'm so steadfast in what Vicaire did a couple weeks ago. It's going to be so tough to topple. I'm not saying she's going to take it all year, but for me, it was clear that she entered and came out of this special WrestleMania gauntlet still Hey Now champion.
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, hey now!
Again, follow us on social media at Getting Overcast. Join our Slack channel. You can find the invite linked in our link tree on both profiles. Join up and you'll have the opportunity to vote this week. We'll circle back 7 days from now, the next WWE edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. All right, that wraps up this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. On the way out, I do want to remind you we have both of those WWE WrestleMania 42 instant analysis episodes you can listen to if you somehow missed both of them. And we will be back on Thursday with what I can only describe as a mega show. We're going to have 2 weeks of NXT, 2 weeks of AEW, including Silver King's thoughts finally on AEW Dynasty. And Vintage will join the show to discuss the WWE Hall of Fame, as well as potentially that bonus show with the extremely unfunny comedian that aired on Netflix immediately after the Raw after WrestleMania. So an absolutely stacked Thursday episode, the likes of which I'm not sure we've ever done here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. And that should get us back in line to progress as we normally do with our schedule. Allow me to remind you on the way out here at Getting Over.
It's all about Defy.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. And please also remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. For $5 a month, $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Please continue supporting us as we deliver performance-enhancing audio into your earholes. buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. For Vintage Chris Vanini, this is the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, signing off and leaving you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.